Let your life experiences and your human connections, be known in the world. And, someone out there is going to know your story. It's going to connect with somebody. What's good, YouTubians?
Hello, everybody out there.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Greetings.
However, whenever you're watching this, we appreciate you because you already know time is expensive.
Thank you for tuning in.
And thank you for subscribing. But if you're here for the first time, this show is about anything and everything
Creative.
Anything that sparks your creativity, whatever medium you dabble in.
Expressing your creative soul.
And welcome to an episode of Creativity
Unsheathed.
I'm Ollie-O-Rey.
And I'm Nino.
And yes, we are brothers.
Yes.
And this is the show where we feel
that to be a great writer, all you have to do is just start writing.
Yes, just write with your heart and edit later.
Yep.
Just pour out what your soul is telling you. Format it later.
Yeah.
Just express it all on paper.
Keep what you want to keep, throw away what you want to throw away.
Right? There's a writing technique, free writing, right? No thinking, just write whatever, just non-stop writing.
Yeah.
And why we're talking about this and what we're looking at today is the books that helped me as a writer to start our comic book journey, and for all the aspiring writers, I'm gonna get into it and just show you what I have.
Hell yeah.
And this one is John Truby's The Anatomy of Story. In this book, in a nutshell, it breaks down story in a way that shows how organic it is to us as human beings. And it also explains how innate in us, how we all know how to tell a story, how everything is everywhere, and that story has a pattern.
Right.
It also explains how stories are similar but in their own organic structure, and like highlights the beats to a story pattern.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So whatever genre that you want to think of, like whether it be action, comedy, rom-com, this talks about the steps within the anatomy of building such story.
And like when knowing when the midpoint comes in.
Yeah.
And the climax.
Yeah, and then just leading into the third act and
nice.
how it needs to flow.
Okay. Nice.
So that was a good one. Definitely helped. Next is probably the most famous writers out there, and who no better to learn writing from than the great Stephen King.
Mr. Sneeze has every story out.
Seriously, I mean that's what George R. R. Martin said.
Yeah.
Said to him when they had a panel together. It's on YouTube.
I like Stephen King.
But this particular book on writing, it's more like a memoir and the life he grew up and what events sparked certain ideas of his stories. And
that's kind of cool. The events in his life.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And like how certain events were embedded in his mind, and he just let it out on paper and
turned it to a story.
Short story, which led to movies.
Hell yeah, that's why we can do it, guys.
Yeah. So this is definitely a must-have, and for every Stephen King fan, or for every writer that admires one of the greats, definitely look into it.
Yes, sir. Mr. Stephen King.
Get it. This one is by Robert McKee. Story.
Enough said.
So this is like an essential. I mean, it just touches upon everything that you need to craft the best story possible in whatever genre. And it doesn't necessarily present a simple formula for stories. Rather, it shows the different designs of a story and how you can tell it.
Nice.
And how does this book pertain to comic book writing? Archie Goodwin, Danny O'Neill, and Chuck Dixon, they've taken Robert McKee's seminars.
Yes.
Right, so I mean that kind of just shows that you still got to learn. I mean, even though these writers were at their peak, they still have to learn ways to tell great stories.
Yeah, they built Batman's world with great storytelling.
Exactly. The key use of story here, that it teaches how to tell a story without the same cookie cutter formula. I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Even though how dense it has of information. But right here, the filmography and like certain movies like to look into and to study off of.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then suggested readings here, and I have one of them, which will be from Joseph Campbell, the hero with 1,000 faces essential as well, you know, because Joseph Campbell talks about the different cultures, folklores, how we all share similar stories. We all have that human connection somehow through story,
Like each country has their own myth of the same creature.
through the language and whatever have you. And also talks about like the hero's journey. A good example that Star Wars used the hero's journey formula, and there may be some videos on YouTube that you can probably look up. These go hand in hand, you know, must have.
Yeah, comic book writer suggested this, right? Francis Manapul,
Oh yeah, definitely.
right?
Yeah.
From that documentary, like Robert McKee's story is essential because what he wrote Andrew Flash.
Yep, that's for sure. And you can't be a writer without this in your arsenal. So definitely have it, find it, you know, do your best to get your research and, you know, learn off of this.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you can't build a character if you don't have a story for that character.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Essential. Get it, yo.
you go to good with comics.
Get it.
For sure.
And next up is by another legendary writer, Mr. Ray Bradbury.
Nice.
And the Zen in the art of writing.
Nice.
These two go hand in hand because he mentioned in this book about Ray Bradbury and how this book inspired this book.
Oh, nice.
So,
nice.
because I
For
mean,
sure.
yeah, Ray Bradbury in this version is pretty much his memoir on what inspired him on his projects.
Yes.
It was really inspiring, and as far as how to unlock your creativity and the kind of stories that you want to tell, and the experiences that you went through as a human being, and how you want to tell that as a story.
I mean, some people may think like, oh, I need to go through some stuff to actually write a good story. Like, no, I just have to have a good imagination. You know what I mean?
There's a saying that bad decisions make good stories. I mean, although that may be true, but like don't go overboard as far as putting yourself in danger.
Yeah.
Just to gain a certain experience to put into your story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why your imagination is there and research. You know, in the world of the internet, information's there. So like whatever you need, whatever genre, you know, and,
Yeah.
just do your homework.
For sure. And just use your creativity and imagination.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was a cool part here that Ray Bradbury mentions doing other things to fuel your creativity,
Oh, there you go.
right? Like, even though he's a writer, he also is a painter. Like, whatever scene he's drawing or painting might inspire a scene for, like, a story or something.
For sure.
So, yeah, stuff like that,
Explore. Be curious.
right? Like, don't just be one thing.
Yeah, for sure. You could be many.
So, yeah, y'all, get these two. They go hand in hand as far as being memoirs from great writers of our time, from another great writer, but in the comic book field, Mr. Grant Morrison. Why this particular book? Because of the last two books of memoirs, he talks about his life and how comics made an impact in his life, right? And it talks about the history of comics and the impact on pop culture, and touches upon the self-actualization aspect. How does a superhero relate to us as a human being?
Right.
Like why now? Like, what is it for the non-reader when they see these characters on the big screen or on the video game? Like, what is it about them
That we should care so much about.
You know what I'm saying? And as a comic book fan of his writing and just the comic book history and just comic books medium, it's like it's good to get that perspective from him and give you a better understanding of how you want to write your superheroes or just how to write certain characters.
A good example is the Kick-Ass comic book and film.
Oh, yeah.
I think the film really shows that part of the superheroes because they feel like they can.
Yeah, totally.
You know, they have the power, they have the confidence.
Yep.
Like the superheroes that they read about.
Yeah.
Or that they gravitate to. So like, why not me?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's fucking impossible. You know what I mean? But he did it.
I mean, there was a superhero documentary on HBO. I believe it was called Superheroes, but it's pretty much a documentary following people who actually dressed up as heroes.
Oh, okay.
Right. They walked around the street and actually try to to bring justice and just bring awareness of certain crimes.
Yeah,
and
neighborhood watch, but with actual costume.
Yeah, which was pretty cool and inspiring. Like, I want to do that.
Yeah, like they would patrol on skateboards or bikes, you know.
Oh yeah, that group. But
yeah, they would use themselves as bait just to get the villains or the crooks or the robbers.
I'm like, whoa.
Like really putting their life in danger.
Yeah. In that documentary, you also get the perspective from the authorities or the police and like how superheroes in real life are really impractical.
Yeah, and how people react to it. You also got that, like the real public reaction.
Yeah.
Of seeing costumed people.
Yeah, and some found it as a joke, some didn't take it seriously, and
the police, they're like, just be careful.
Yeah.
You know?
It just shows how much superheroes made that impact in pop culture, you know, showing that level of inspiration and motivation and what comics can do.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
And he just demonstrates that in this book, and I think it's, you know, for a modern take, if you want to hear it from his perspective, hey, by all means, it's a must-have.
Yes.
Get it.
Mr. Morrison.
Especially on the self-actualization part.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're going to do some 3 notable ones. And this one's by Douglas Wolfe. On how to read graphic novels. And this too here is like the history of comic books and not so much hitting pop culture, but more on the aspect of like what the stories really mean,
like dissecting the book.
So like on top of the history, but like what these stories mean in real life.
Right.
And how there's a relatability to it, and like these stories aren't just stories.
Yeah.
And this one's by Michael Hodge.
Nice.
Writing screenplays that sell. Pretty similar to John Truby and Robert McKee's books, but on the level of how to structure certain scripts, how they should look like. So definitely a good one, and it shows examples from movies like Karate Kid.
Oh, nice. Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, so you get examples. We gotta learn from the best. And another one, creativity.
Damn, the magic of synthesis.
This book touches upon the creativity throughout history. Just based off this cover, you can probably get an idea.
And the book really picks you, man.
No, seriously.
We all have magic within us, y'all.
Right.
Share your creativity.
Again, like I mentioned, I didn't have any writing classes, you know, for comics or, you know, what I wanted to do. You know, there's basic English classes, writing essays and stuff, but that's not storytelling.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had to find books in order to teach myself and how this stuff works, you know, and with the internet being there and the information it provided, you know, I used what I could. And, you know, don't let these be a limit on what you want to be as a writer and who you are and what the kind of stories that you want to tell. Let your life experiences and your human connections, you know, be known in the world. And, you know, someone out there is going to know your story. It's going to connect with somebody. Everybody has their own formula. Everyone has their own way of writing. I've learned my own way to write my stories just off these books. You as your own individual, you know, find your own flow, find your own formula.
Yeah, for sure.
These are just guides. But like for any teacher, they can only teach us so much. We just had to do the work.
Right.
We have to do the rest ourselves. And stories that really mean something to us, not just to make money. I mean, that's just byproduct. You know, they have to come from somewhere. And I don't think AI can spew out emotions like that, what the human heart can do.
Yep.
So everyone needs your story. Everyone needs to hear your voice. So we're going to end this episode with a motivational quote. And this one's by the great Ray Bradbury. And he states, "The true test is in the doing." End quote. And with that alone, to be a good writer, just write. You know, write with your heart and edit later.
Yep.
You know, that's from Finding Forrester. I relate a lot to that movie.
Great movie.
I don't know who else does, comment below, but, you know, as a writer, as a human being, I relate to that movie a lot. And I don't know what other stories will come out of me, but I know it's going to come from my heart. And if you guys gravitate to our stories and the comics that we make or whatever we make, thank you.
Thank you.
In advance. And, continue on this journey with us as we continue to create. And,
Yes, sir.
And for you guys, inspiring writers, again, just continue writing and find these books if you feel like they can help you. All right, yeah, so till next time, stay creative, keep creating.
Stay independent, have your own voice.
Do your best as a human being to find ways to stay motivated and to keep on going.
Yes, sir. Spread the love, kill the negativity.
Tell your own awesome stories and let the world hear your voice.
Definitely. Don't quit, keep going.
Till next time, y'all.
Till next time.
Peace.
Peace.
The fog will clear. The fog will clear up.